You really think there's nothing to be scared of?
Hello, Spookaroos, and welcome to episode 200. This is a special introduction just because I wanted to go over a couple things that have changed since this episode was recorded, because we actually recorded this episode several months ago now. In preparation, it was a time when everyone could be together via Skype, unfortunately. So this is an episode on Skype, so you will notice a dip in the sound quality, which is a shame for the 200th episode, but at the time, we were still under mask mandates, we were still under social distance guidelines and all that kind of stuff here in Massachusetts. Those conditions have since been lifted, but we were playing it safe at the time, and we bring you this fully sanitized and socially distanced 200th episode where we discussed the BBC's Ghostwatch, which was a television program. It was fictional, but it was presented as if it was a real news program. There was a host in the BBC studio, along with some special guests, and then there were two hosts out in the field, one at this house, which belonged to a single mother and her two adolescent daughters, and they said they'd been experiencing these hauntings, so the idea was that they were going to set up shop with all these cameras in the house, hidden cameras, regular cameras, sound guys, all this fancy equipment, and there was a parapsychologist on hand, and there was a kind of a jokester guy walking around outside, getting feedback from the crowd outside and the tech crew and all that, and throughout the night, some strange things happen, some strange phone calls come in, and it all ends with everything going to hell and a full-on possession, which we don't talk about too much in the episode, so you should really check out Ghostwatch. You can find it online, various places, some legal, some not, but it's definitely worth looking up and spending a little time with 1992's Ghostwatch from the BBC. Check out episode 200, but don't forget, we do have a Patreon. That is patreon.com/witchfinder, because Spooky Times is a Witchfinder production. And if you would like to support the show here on our 200th episode, I invite you to join there. You'll get exclusive videos, exclusive posts, all kinds of stuff. Sometimes I do giveaways and, that kind of fun stuff too. So patreon.com/witchfinder, and you can follow us on Instagram at spookyassshit. Here's episode 200.
No creaking gates, no Gothic towers, no shutter windows. Yet for the past 10 months, this house has been the focus of an astonishing barrage of supernatural activity.
Mom! 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 Oh, Mom, he's back! He's back! Mom! 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 Oh, help me! Help me! Don't touch me! Don't touch me!
Welcome to a very special 200th episode of Spooky Times with Eric D. And I'm still getting used to saying Spooky Times. But I have a plethora of guests tonight, recording through the use of Skype. So first, let's introduce Emily, since she's the only one that's not muted at the moment. So Emily Ferguson, welcome back.
Hey there. Don't try to mute me. You can't mute me. Good to be here.
I've learned that. Brian, Tony?
Hey. Actually, I think he can. I think he can mute any of us whenever he wants.
Uh-oh.
Eric holds all the power.
Yeah.
And that's Tom Cole.
Hey,
Hey, Tom Cole.
Tom, you have the distinction of being the last guest before COVID.
Oh yeah,
I
absolutely.
remember
It
last
all
time you were
shut
here,
down.
it was like the week everything like shut down, but it was like the beginning of the week.
Sure was.
So we weren't sure like how serious to take it yet. And we were like, yeah, you can come over, it's all right.
Yeah, like this COVID thing's crazy, right? Isn't it?
Yeah.
And then
I
the
remember
world
that we
shut
were
down.
like slightly nervous about things,
Yeah,
but not nearly as nervous as we needed to be.
exactly.
Simpler times, those.
Yeah.
I was actually looking through my phone because I said, I wonder what the last picture I took before like everything went to hell. I wonder what the last picture was. Like, what was my last moment of normalcy? And it was the picture that you took of me holding up the Beer Wolf poster.
Oh, that's right.
what?
Yeah. Yep.
So I guess technically I didn't take that picture, but it was the last picture on my phone from the before times.
The before times, yes. A beer wolf, and that's a really good last picture to have.
It is. It's a nice memory.
I mean,
Yeah.
that's the before world I like to remember.
Yeah.
The Beer Wolf
Elvira teaming up.
world.
Ooh.
So tonight we are doing like a watch and then a commentary on something that honestly I actually have not seen before. But it is a classic known thing across the pond, as they say, over in England. This is something called Ghostwatch.
No idea.
Yeah. Is it because I said across the
Ghostwatch.
pond, Brian?
What? No. I just like that you had to point out, across the pond. In
Well,
it.
'cause-
As they say, across the pond.
all right, guys. Geez. Christ. You guys want to host?
This
Hey,
little
Bert.
thing called Merry Old England. They have this thing, Ghostwatch.
Who's been to England here? Oh, I'm the
Uh,
only one raising their hand.
I've been to Scotland.
Maybe the airport? I don't remember.
Uh-huh. Well, I've been to London twice, so thank you very much. Now then, what we're talking about is a special that aired on Halloween in 1992. And I want you to think back to 1992 because this was a time before reality TV as we know it, before the Blair Witch Project, before Paranormal Activity. So just keep in mind that this was before any of that stuff because this show is filmed in a reality TV show style.
Okay.
Interesting.
So much so that when it aired in 1992, a lot of people allegedly thought that this was real.
Oh,
And
okay.
it caused a little bit of a panic. And allegedly, it's the first television show that caused children to have PTSD.
Really?
Yeah.
Oh,
Huh.
man.
So this was very intense for the time. They got somewhere, but it depends which source you read, but between 30,000 and 1 million phone calls that night.
That's quite the range.
I think
Is
it
this
really
all
is.
the metric
I think there's
system,
a
or-
reason why there's such a big range. We'll get into that later on.
7 in 400 million phone calls came in.
Somewhere in that range. So this was a big deal, and also the BBC has never aired it again. It only aired once on the BBC.
Oh,
It has aired like other places, like they showed it in Canada, and they put it on some streaming services, and actually the BBC even released it on DVD a couple times, and they even made like a documentary about it a few years ago. But we are going to be watching the original broadcast. Like I remember when I was a kid, I probably talked about it on the show before, but there was a series of shows called Haunted Lives that they used to show on TV, and I remember watching that and talking about it the next day in school, and like everybody was freaked out by it. So I imagine that this is something like kind of along those lines for British people, but even worse because like I said, it was presented as real. Haunted Lives wasn't supposed to be. It was supposed to be real, but it wasn't presented as like live happening right now in front of your face. And I think that this is like a seminal moment in BBC history that most Americans probably don't really know about, and I've never seen it myself. So I thought for the 200th episode, this would be a good time to check this out.
Very
Love it.
All right, I'm going to stop.
There's a pretty good chance if you don't know about it, most people don't know about it.
Yeah,
There's
a lot of people out there like, oh, he didn't even know about that. Like, I mean, I've known about it for a while now. I just never got around to watching it. And then when I found it, like streaming and like other places, I said, oh, let me hold on to this, and we'll do it as an episode for a special occasion. So 200 episodes, I figure that's a good special occasion.
a very good special occasion.
Totally.
So welcome live this Halloween night to the first ever TV Ghostwatch. That's the scene in Fox Hill Drive in Northolt. Our outside broadcast units are there. That's the house where it might all happen tonight, or it might not. We shall see. We're going to investigate one of the most baffling and fascinating areas of human experience, the supernatural. Tonight, television is going ghost hunting in an unprecedented scientific experiment where I hope to show you, for the first time, irrefutable proof that ghosts really do exist.
Emily, you seem to be the most excited. Why don't you take a stab at describing? Imagine you're telling this to people who don't know what this is. So if you could give us like a recap of what we just watched.
Okay, so it's a hoax essentially. It's a fake documentary, not a documentary, just live news stream of a haunted house, and it is also a call-in show. The main host looks wicked familiar. Is he like a big guy?
He was in England, not over here, but I get like he had his own talk show for like 10 years, and then another 10 years like after this show aired. But the people who are like hosting the show are all real people, and they're famous English, TV show people. So he was playing himself. They're all going by their real name. So
that's what I thought.
Yeah,
Okay.
It would be like if like Regis Philbin or somebody was like hosting a show here in the U.S. Well, now it'd be really creepy.
That'd be very spooky if
Yeah.
Regis.
Yeah, that'd be legit.
Before he died, it'd be someone that like everybody knows.
Yeah.
That's my point.
Yeah, and we get to see things in quote real time go from bad to worse.
Yeah, so they're investigating this allegedly haunted house. It's based on the Enfield Poltergeist, which is a show that a topic I do want to cover at some point. But it was, a haunted house story in England. So they have, reporters, one in the house, one outside the house. They're showing all the technology they're using, including thermal cameras, no night vision. Before night vision, I guess, on this show. But staple of ghost hunting shows now.
Well, generally, they don't rely on a lot of tech. Like, they present a lot of tech, but that's not what we end up viewing much.
True. And then they also have the people in the studio. And, of course, there's, like, the psychologist woman. Was that what she was supposed to be? I was a little unclear on her.
Parapsychologist.
Yes.
There you go. Parapsychologist.
Yeah.
Yeah, so she's sitting in studio. And, of course, they have to cut to a skeptic who believes in science and everything every once in a while. And he's in New York City.
And he's a dick, of course.
Yeah.
Because we all are.
But
For years, parapsychologists have been trying to prove their loony theories in laboratory conditions, and they can't.
And then, like you said, of course, we get the call-ins, and it's people calling in saying they saw something weird in the footage, or they have a real-life ghost story they want to tell, or they know something about the history of the house and why it may be haunted. So that, I think, in a nutshell, is kind of what happens. And like you said, things go from bad from worse. We see little hints of something strange going on with things, lights turning on and off and that kind of thing. And it ends in full-blown possessions, I guess.
Yeah.
And perhaps molestation, I guess that was kind of hinted at.
It took a weird turn there, yeah.
Yeah.
it was a little too dense. It was a lot of hat on a hat. It's like, there's this bad guy and he's ugly, but there's an evil woman inside him too. How about that?
And he started wearing dresses.
Yeah.
Well, so the backstory to this is that it was written by a man named Stephen Volk, and he originally wrote it as a 6-part miniseries.
Gee.
Oh dear God.
And
Not necessary.
Only the last episode was supposed to be like what we saw on this, where it was like a live kind of thing, and like all this stuff was supposed to happen. The rest of it was supposed to be like build up, talking about the case and the history of the house and everything. But then his agent was like, "Hey, do you think you could put it all like in one special that we could air on Halloween?" So he rewrote it for that purpose. I think that this would have been helped immensely if they didn't actually have a script, if they just had an outline, because I think a lot of the acting is kind of what kills the vibe for me. Like the little girls, they're not terrible, but I don't really believe them, like their reactions a lot of the times, and
I believe them more than most of the adults, though.
Yeah, I was gonna say I thought they were fine. The adults
they were
pretty
good.
tough.
Yeah.
But you know, the presenters, like, I don't know, being a TV host, being a TV presenter, kind of has its own feel. So to me, they felt like basically authentic. Maybe not when like the like really spooky stuff started happening, and they had to react to that. But like prior to that, except for the guy on the outside, he was on a show called Red Dwarf.
Craig Charles, that well-known ghost hunter, is our reporter. Craig, how are you?
Hi, Michael. Yeah, I'm fine. I've taken the Valium, man.
The guy in the Bears jacket.
Yeah, Craig Charles.
The guy who every time he came on screen, I was like, it's this guy.
Yeah,
This guy's the worst. Yeah.
This guy.
he's really annoying
This fucking guy.
with all his jokes.
For a while, I thought he just had a jacket that was like an NFL jacket. Because like the biggest logo is just NFL. It's like he's not into a team. He's into the league, baby.
Right.
Go sport. Yeah. Well, listen, it's. I would imagine odd to see the NFL getting any recognition on
In '92, probably.
show.
Yeah.
So yeah, Michael Parkinson, he like said he was a talk show host. Sarah Green, who's the one that's actually in the haunted house, the reporter that is like interacting with the little girls. She is a children's show host, which added to the controversy because people were saying like she talked about this on her kids show and she told the kids to watch. That turns out to not be true.
Okay, good.
Yeah, no way.
Like, you know, they're like, no, we've watched every episode of this children's show, and she never ever talked about it. But yeah, she's in the house with the girls, and the girls are talking about pipes, is what they call the ghost.
Yeah, pipes.
Sounds like a cute nickname for like someone named Piper or something. It's like, what's that, Pipes?
What's up, Pipes?
Well, it's always something, because like even in The Exorcist, it was Captain Howdy first, right? So they get like kind of cute nicknames at first from the little girls, or to play with the little girls. And they talk about different, you know, things that have happened in the past. They start by showing footage of, you know, a haunting from the past where things are moving around the room and the girls are screaming and the lights are blowing up. And also, this is where we first get the report that if you watch the footage close enough, you can see pipes in the background.
Just chilling.
Go on.
But I feel a bit foolish.
Oh, don't worry about that, Emma. Never worries me.
Well, you know at the beginning, when you showed the real footage of that haunted bedroom, well, I know it was dark, but I was sure I could see a figure standing behind against the wall just by the curtain.
Yeah.
Very, very vague, but definitely a figure there.
I don't know if you guys caught this or not, but allegedly there are somewhere between 8 and 13 appearances of pipes throughout the special.
I saw a lot of them.
Yeah, I saw a bunch of them.
Is it
I don't know
always
that
a
many.
different shot, or are they different shots?
I'm sorry, Brian?
Are they always in that shot of the footage, or are they in different shots?
Well, okay, so that it's kind of debated because some people, like, there's some that are very clear, and then there are some that people are like, oh, I think I saw it here, and other people have been like, yeah, I see what you're talking about, and other people are like, no, there's nothing there, and the producers have said, well, we only did so many, I think, but maybe they threw in more, I don't know. So that's why I said somewhere between 8 and 13.
Yeah.
I noticed a few. The ones that I noticed the first one that I definitely noticed was when they showed the curtain in the replay. I didn't see it in the original. I don't think it's in the original. I think it's just on the replay.
Yeah, almost surely.
When everyone in the studio was like, "No, I don't see
taking it
anything." but you can clearly see that there is something.
Putting it back into that one.
Yeah. And then the second one that I noticed was when there was that scare with the cat outside the sliding doors in the kitchen. You could see the reflection. It was like this red-headed guy. I mean, his head was red, not that he had red hair.
Right.
Like bloody or whatever. It looked like a red skull almost. Standing like in the reflection of the mirror.
Well, the strange thing is that we're still getting calls about that shadowy figure that was seen in the haunted bedroom, or people think they've seen in the haunted bedroom. Now, what's really weird is these are all tallying with the description. These are all different phone calls. They're generally all saying that it's an old man or a woman, bald with a skull-like head, dark eyes, or some are just saying holes for eyes, and wearing a black robe or a dress which is buttoned up to the neck.
So that was the first time I really noticed it. And then, let's see, what else? Oh, in the glory hole. When they opened the glory hole, I thought shape there.
Yeah. There were quite a few instances of some great British slang, but that I thought I misheard that the first time. I was like, the what? No.
The what? Yeah. Oh, okay.
I wrote that too. And then they mentioned that someone lived in the Coxwells. I don't know what's going on over there in England, but so apparently in a glory hole in England, I don't know if it has a double meaning there or not, but here in the States, a glory hole would be a hole that you put your penis through so that somebody on the other side of the wall can service you in one way or another.
Do you think that you have listeners that you have to explain that to?
I was going to say.
Well, I'm saying in England, if they're able to say glory hole 1,000,000 times on a special, maybe it doesn't mean the same thing over there.
Oh, this is for our international listeners. All right, never mind.
It's like fanny. Like fanny is really dirty in English, but it's like in England, but it's like just a cute thing for butt. It doesn't mean the same thing.
That is true. Yeah. People don't know that. Yeah, that's fair. All right.
Glory hole, where strangers become friends. Glory hole, you don't need to know names.
But apparently in England, a glory hole is like the crawl space.
A cover hole, if you will. Yeah.
So, but yeah, they said it several times, and like Brian said, the first time it was like, oh, maybe I misheard.
The glory hole, as we used to call it when I was a kid.
But no, she kept talking about the incident in the glory hole, and then it doesn't help that the ghost that lives in the glory hole is supposed to be like the child molester ghost.
They just kind of pop that in towards the end.
Yeah, there are a couple entities. One of them is the woman. What was her deal? I forget. They explained it, but I forget already.
Oh, the woman who was the child harvester?
Oh, yeah.
Right.
Hello, who am I talking to?
Oh, hello. My name's Mary Christopher, and I just wanted to phone and tell you about this. Well, about my mother, really. We were North Oak born and bred, and us children, if we were naughty or couldn't get to sleep, our mum used to say, Mother Seddons will come to get you. It used to scare us rigid. I don't know why she...
Parents do some awful and daft things, don't they, Mary?
Yeah, well, years later I found out that she really did exist, and she was a baby farmer, like a childminder. She used to take kids in, but she used to kill them, and she'd drown them in the big coppers. And why I'm ringing is she used to live in one of the old terraces in Foxhill by the railway, as it was then, and is now Foxhill Drive, and I'm just sure it's where those poor girls live now. And really, that's all I have to say. I just wanted to make sure you knew.
Thanks for your call, Mary. Thanks very much for calling me.
So I don't know whatever happened to that, because we didn't really hear much more about that.
Yeah, it was kind of a dead end there.
Yeah.
No, okay, it's not a dead end. Okay, so there's something you guys are missing.
Does that lady possess the guy?
Yes.
So it's a chain?
What?
It's a chain of evil.
Okay.
That's why at the end, the parapsychologist was like, who knows how long evil has lived in this place? It could go back to prehistory. So that's why they're talking about, because they said that the child molester that lived there, the male, his name was Ray something, he said that he felt like there was somebody else inside of him and this woman, and that's why he started wearing dresses.
Right. Yeah, I was going to say, do they always wear the clothes of the previous person?
Maybe.
Or they just add one layer?
Listen, now it's 2021. Things are fluid. We are positive. We are fluid. So things can go in all sorts of directions, and it wouldn't make a difference.
Hey, why are you dressed as a fireman?
I have no idea.
I don't know, but I heard.
It just started happening.
Do you know Mr. and Mrs. Sellers?
Yes, they're on our list of tenants. They lived there in the 60s, I think.
Did you know they sublet a room?
No, I didn't know that.
Being illegal, it wouldn't be on the official records. The lodger was their nephew, Raymond Tunstall.
How do you know him? Why are you calling, sir?
I worked as a social worker when he came out of psychiatric hospital. He had several convictions for molestation, aggravated abuse, abduction of minors. He should never have been let anywhere near any community. He was a very disturbed man, in my opinion.
In what way?
From the time he moved to Foxhill Drive, he developed paranoid fantasies. He used to tell me there was a woman on the inside of his body, taking over his thoughts and actions, making him do things he didn't want to do. He started to wear dresses. The delusions got so bad, there was only one way to escape them. He took his own life. That's why I called. When I was sitting here watching the TV and...
Hello? Are you still there? If you are, please go on. Hello?
Tunstall hanged himself. He tied wire around his neck to a lathe and switched it on. Did it where he kept his tools, under the stairs. His aunt and uncle were on holiday. It was 12 days before anybody found him. They heard the cats screaming. He had about a dozen cats. The cats were locked in, of course. And of course, 12 days, they got hungry. They got to work on his face.
I was like, this is very heavily influencing the Babadook. Just a lot of whacking, and then he didn't look like that, and so I was like, oh, but I'm sure Pipes is also a gay icon of some type.
Sure. Well, his name is Pipes, and he lives in a glory hole. You think he doesn't have a reputation? Come on.
We did it, yeah.
Hey, we got there.
Yeah, there's especially in the beginning when things are still kind of lighthearted. There's a lot of British references that just went right over my head anyway, and I'm betting for you guys too. I didn't even write them down, but I just like there's a lot of times they'd be like, "Oh, this person is the spitting image of Nigel Puddleflords or something." And
Like, yeah, that's probably a person. Yeah.
I mean, the basic point of all of that was that she wants to bone her entire crew, and that she was bickering with her husband. So that was the only point. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and they were married in real life, by the way.
Oh,
okay.
That's a real life married couple.
Is bobbing for apples, is that like a real Halloween thing? Or is that
yeah,
like
they've never done that?
No, not on Halloween.
They're not usually on strings hanging from the ceiling. That's more
Okay,
a donut.
So that's kind of strange because in my family we didn't bob for apples because it's gross.
Yes.
Yeah.
But we did do donuts on a string.
Yeah, that's fun too.
Hell yeah.
I have pictures documenting that of us in our Halloween costumes. Trying to eat. You try to eat the donut without using your hand.
Yeah. See, I've done that. I just didn't know it was a Halloween thing.
For us, it was. I don't know if it. Like,
no, me too. That's what I associated it.
Bobbing for apples was because that's like a harvest kind of thing, you know.
Yeah.
Okay.
We did it on Arbor Day.
It's more of a Flag Day operation.
So speaking of, it's Halloween when the show aired, and so obviously it's supposed to be set on Halloween. It was not filmed live, obviously. It was, produced weeks in advance. But the house that they're into is supposed to be haunted, and the family agrees that it's haunted. The girls are terrified. The mom is terrified. Pipes, blah, blah, blah. But they have Halloween decorations up, including, like, witches and ghosts and stuff. And it just seems to me, if I were living in a haunted house and I was truly terrified that there were, like, evil spirits in the house, I might skip the Halloween decorations that year.
Yeah, you get enough the rest of the year, yeah.
It seems excessive at that point, yeah.
Just something that occurred to me.
Yeah, I really thought they were going somewhere with, like, the literally 2.5 seconds of two trick-or-treaters who are out way past their bedtime and then never come back.
Yeah, and then, well, they do. There are other trick-or-treaters at the end, but you're right. I noticed that too because this show aired at 9:25 on Halloween night. So that's real late night. Like, I used to go out late. Like, I would never go trick-or-treating before it got dark out. I always thought that was such a pussy move. So I always waited till it got dark, and like we'd usually be some of the last trick-or-treaters, but we were done by 8, I would imagine.
Mm-hmm.
You know?
Yeah.
So then they play what we today would call an EVP, electronic voice phenomenon.
Mm-hmm.
And this is supposed to be the ghost talking. And for some reason, it's on like really old school analog tape machine that seems like it would be a little outdated by the 90s.
Yeah.
But I couldn't understand a word the ghost was saying.
Oh, not at all.
Not one.
Yeah.
Grunt or something. If you can grunt, can you speak? Oh, dear God, Susan. Who are you? What's your name? Jesus Christ, now you're joking. Are you dead? Are you in heaven?
I think it was just saying nursery rhymes because I did catch one. And it's one that they came back to later on, and that's Round and Round the Garden, which was something that my mom used to say to me.
Ooh.
It was round around the garden like a teddy bear, and then the way my mom did it, I don't know if this is the actual rhyme or not, but she'd be rubbing like the garden was my belly button, and she'd be like running her finger like round and round the garden like a teddy bear, and then she'd go up my chest with her fingers, 1 step, 2 step, I tickle you way up there, and she'd tickle my chest.
Aww.
So I don't know if that's the actual thing or not, but
Well, the molester tickles you down there.
Oh.
I guess it
Went
went
the
down
other
there.
way
Yeah,
with it.
my mom went up. I don't know.
There you
That's,
go.
well,
That's
she's
better.
a good person.
Yeah, exactly.
I don't know. That's the one I knew.
I think you're right. I caught up Fee Fi Fo Fum in there somewhere too.
Yeah, he did that. So I think that's just like, hey, I'm into kids. I know all these nursery rhymes. Like, that's my thing. That's my gimmick.
Tinder bio.
They show the girl's face all cut up. This happens later in the special too. They show her all cut up, but they show her in the first part. And it just, to me, it reminded me of like an early stage Faces of Meth.
Yeah. Just a little rough, but not like fully in yet.
Yeah, and they speculate as to what this ghost could be, and the parapsychologist says, well, it could be a ghost, it could be a straight up ghost, that's true, or it could be a poltergeist. And they don't really get into the difference between the two. Or they say it could be something psychological from the girls. I do kind of like that they explore like different possibilities, like even in a paranormal sense, like, you know, maybe it's some kind of psychokinesis from the girls, or it's a poltergeist, which is technically different than a ghost, but it's all very technical. That's some other time. I do have to say though,
poltergeists are attracted to girls in puberty. That was a new one.
Didn't know that either. Yeah.
No, that actually is a thing. But it's likely a thing because girls in puberty act up.
Witch trials, yeah.
Yeah, exactly. Hysterical.
Yeah, ladies go cray.
Exactly. What are you gonna do with us?
Eric, you're gonna get canceled. Jeez.
Well, and especially they even mentioned that like, this is like a broken home. I'm assuming because the dad isn't around, and that is common as well in these reports. They're probably taking a lot of these things from the Enfield poltergeist case, which by the way was definitely a hoax. but perpetrated by 2 little girls.
Ooh.
So that's kind of the other thing too. When you do think, whether you're talking about this or like real ghost stories, why are the things that a lot of poltergeists do things that a mischievous child would do? You know, that's
well,
I don't know.
That's how ghosts are. Duh.
Yeah. I don't know. So, you know, I'm thinking about if I was watching this as a child, if I was watching this when it was originally on, I think I would have fallen asleep before it got to the good stuff.
I think you have a good point there. Yeah.
It's a little slow moving. I feel like it could have been edited down, like, I think a solid 40 minutes.
Yeah.
Would have been good. I get that they want, like, kind of a slow build, and they want you to feel like it's real time and all. I guess things were different in 92, but...
But even then, for kids, like, kids don't want to watch the first hour and 15 minutes of that. Like, it's just...
Yeah, it was definitely a real slow build.
Wait, okay, so who is this for? Is this for kids?
No, I don't think it was for kids, but there's a lot of kids that remember watching it, according to things you'd read online and everything.
Yeah.
And I'm
No,
just
I believe
impressed that they were able to stay awake.
I could definitely imagine, like, being compelled by it if I was, like, 10.
Me too, but again, at 9:30 at night on Halloween, I probably would have been, like, exhausted.
Oh, yeah, you would have conked out for sure.
Wanted to say that the fucking wall of TVs really pissed me off every time they showed it.
Oh my god. Okay, so can we talk about the set, that particular set? Because there's some pretty dope elements there. Like, did you see the coffee table? Coffee tables. Wicked cool. And they got that nice ghost art over. Okay,
Well, I was going to say, it's a very
thing.
serious looking set. Like, they're doing journalism there. And then you have this spooky ghost.
Exactly. And there's a silver skull on the coffee table, too. Like, they went all out with this stuff, but it's definitely, it's a set. But yeah, the TVs. So the TVs, instead of having one big giant screen, which I guess was too much for them, it's 9 TVs that are just like big-ish next to each other.
That was kind of the thing, though. WWF used to do that, too.
Oh, yeah, sure. Everybody did.
Yeah. They had screens like that. So maybe in the 90s, you just had to plug screens together to get one big screen.
Yeah. And they're all, of course, like curved and crazy looking.
They do show at times that the girls are actually faking it. There are elements where they're like, "Oh, we just were trying to give you what you wanted. This is what you came here to see." But then, of course, by the end, you're kind of left to wonder, like, were they faking it, or were they being led to do something by the spirits?
Now, I got a question. Maybe I wasn't watching closely enough, but what was the purpose of the mother not being in there?
That is good, because she was gone for a long time.
Well, she was, like, watching in a studio that was, like, 13 feet away.
Right.
Yeah, and the TV host was suddenly, like, mom tucking the girls in and, like, kissing them good night.
Like, she even knew where to get, like, the antacid and the...
Exactly.
She did mention that the mother showed her where everything was.
I mean...
Well, good, yes.
But
there was that scene where she was starting to make coffee, and I was like, are we really just going to watch her make coffee now? Like, we can't go back to the studio?
Well, that's the point. I'm like, how long is this thing? We're going to watch a whole pot of coffee get brewed? I'm like, oh, instant coffee, okay.
You know, we're doing this over Skype, and I was checking on the screen share, but I didn't know, like, if I went to check the time, if, like, you'd see it, and you'd be like, oh, Eric's really getting bored. He's checking, like, every 5 seconds to see how much longer we have left here.
That would have been okay. We were also wondering.
There were a couple times I checked, so I don't know if you saw it or not, but a couple times. There was one legitimately scary moment for me. The first time you heard the cats wailing.
Mm-hmm.
It's pretty quiet here in my apartment tonight, but you heard the cats wailing, and apparently that freaked out my real life cat.
Mine too.
Miss Emma came out of nowhere and, like, jumped on me to see what was going on, and that did startle me, I will say.
What's that noise?
Right, where's it coming from? Right. It's in here. It's in the glory hole.
Can you just stay back over there, darling? Stay over there.
Yeah. Let's have a look.
Just pull this side,
So it wasn't the show itself per se, but
Yeah.
you know, we did get a legitimate scare out of it over here.
Yeah, my dog's sleeping on the couch, the next couch over, and she gave a, what the fuck? And then went right back to sleep. But
Emma was like, yes, Eric, I will eat you if you get locked in a room with me.
Yeah, so that happens. That's something they mentioned in the show. The child molester. What was the story? He locked himself in the glory hole.
Yeah.
While he was still alive, and he killed himself.
He did, yeah, and the cats ate.
The cat ate his face.
Well, they didn't say that explicitly, but it was 12 days, and the cats were hungry.
They do mention that 9 o'clock is the watershed hour. They mention that the show is on late because they talk about kids. Even on the show, that someone calls in and says,
"My children are frightened. Why are you doing this?"
Now, look, I'm sure your children are in shock.
I don't know what's going on. They won't take their eyes off the set. And there's blood. There's blood all over the wallpaper.
The watershed hour is like their like prime time where like it's okay to show like more dramatic kind of thing. So I thought that was interesting that they even mentioned that on the show because it became an issue in real life because people really were. I don't think it's so much that people thought the show was real, like really real, but they just thought this was really intense and it's going to be scaring children, younger viewers that are watching, and that's really more what their problem was. That like there should have been more of a warning. There was that little thing in the beginning saying like this is a thing starring, and on the actual broadcast there was even more of a warning, like just saying like this is like a fictionalized thing. It's part of, I forget, it was like Drama 1 or something like that, some series that they had that they made it like a presentation of, so that people would know like this is not real. But again, you have to remember this is 1992. Things weren't presented in the style that we just saw, the way they are now. Like that wouldn't be an unheard of technique now, but back in 92, that was like a new thing, you know?
Yeah, right.
And it was very intense. Like we said, there were 2 children that were diagnosed with PTSD, allegedly from viewing this special.
I mean, but let's be real. Those kids were going to get PTSD from being scared about something else already.
Yeah.
You're right. They were just soft kids.
They're soft kids. Yeah, exactly.
Thanks for calling them out.
Yeah.
something was going to get them.
But, I mean, I have to. If I was, under 10 years old, I would totally be scared of this.
Absolutely.
I can see that. Would I be around for the whole hour and a half? So I guess maybe I wouldn't be scared because I wouldn't make it to the end.
No.
But if I just chimed in, if I tuned in for the last 10 minutes, yeah, I could see being scared of that.
Yeah. Also, that phone number that they kept flashing, that was a real working phone number that they had for the show. But you wouldn't call in and get on the show. You were supposed to call, and then you'd hear a recorded message saying, "Hey, the show is fake. But if you have a real ghost story that you want to tell, leave it here, and you can it'll record you talking."
Mm-hmm.
But so many people called the number that the system broke down, so that when more people called in, either 30,000 or 1 million, the system just broke down. So all you got was a dial tone. So that made people even more concerned.
Yeah,
that this was real. Anyone who really thought that the show was real. Also, this program is linked to one suicide. There was an 18-year-old who had watched it, and a couple days later, he killed himself. He left a note behind, and the note talked about this show, and it said, "If ghosts really are real, then I'm not afraid of suicide, killing myself, because I'll always be with you as a ghost."
Jeez. That's rough.
Yeah. So I think all those things combined are why the BBC, who were hesitant to air the special in the first place, They wanted more. They wanted more like captions, like saying like, "Hey, this is fake" throughout the show. And the producers were like, "Well, it's not that we're trying to fool people necessarily, but we want to create an atmosphere where
sure.
it seems real. And if you keep doing that, it's going to take people out of the show. Like we want a certain amount of suspension of disbelief, you know." And that was kind of their defense even after, because after it became, like I said, like this big cultural touchstone over in England. For people in the generation that I would have grown up with, right? Yeah, I would have been around the age to be a kid watching this and be, you know, freaked out by it.
Yeah.
I guess over there it's like a really well-known thing and people talk about it and like remember it. And like I said, the BBC didn't air it, so I think the fact that you couldn't see it for so long,
well, yeah,
only added to the mystique of like, oh, it was the most terrifying thing ever, and that's why they won't show it. And it's not really so much that. It's just it caused an awful lot of grief for them, and they were like, meh.
it's not worth it. Yeah.
Right.
Well, if people really want to see it, we'll put it out on DVD so they can have it and they can watch it. But it's not something we need to like. But the other idea that they bring up in the special, which there's a lot of good ideas, I think, in the special. I'm not necessarily huge on the way it was done, although, like I said, for the times, pretty revolutionary maybe. But a lot of good ideas, a lot of fun things to explore, and one of them is the idea that having this kind of show was actually creating a national seance. So, like, basically, you're calling up spirit energy by talking about it so much on this show and presenting it on the show. There were not sequels, but they've done national seances on the BBC. Kind of based around the show. There's even one where they even said like, hey, watch your copy, however you have it, on DVD or whatever streaming service it happens to be on, at 9:30, and then we're going to meet here to like talk about the weird things that have happened while we were watching it or something like that. So,
you know who definitely watched that one? Was the guy who the demon shit on his wall.
That was awesome.
And spit on his fish.
Do you want to talk about that one? Describe that for the listeners, if you will.
That's the whole thing. This very strange-looking guy with no expression on his face talked about the time that an invisible demon had infiltrated his and his wife's home and just spit everywhere and eventually shit on his wall.
We both looked down, this is my half-sister again and me, and saw what looked like saliva all over the mackerel. Excrement smeared on a cupboard door in the bathroom. We had already, in fact, found such things in various parts of the flat. This is the first time we actually found anything smeared like that on the door, so it had to be cleared up, and it was really horrible.
Well, my favorite part is that the first few shits he gave a pass. They were on the floor. This was the first one that was wiped on the wall. He's like, that's it. That's enough.
Now I've written down a couple choice phrases here. Saliva all over the mackerel. One.
That's right.
But then from someone else, when they're explaining the, oh God, I think it was a dog? This is a gross part, but fetuses all over the place.
Yeah.
Yes.
That's when they butchered the dog. Yeah.
There were fetuses scattered all over.
Yes. That just went completely unexplained.
Yeah.
Yeah, I thought maybe they were getting to some kind of satanic ritual abuse in the neighborhood.
No, I think that's more just like they want to say fetuses all over the place. That's it.
Yeah. They just
want
to.
It was an uncharacteristically dark moment.
Yeah,
I bet I can work that phrase into the.
Yeah, that was in the Ghostwatch bingo card.
Yeah, exactly.
In the end, everybody had great hair. I will say that.
That's true.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Oh, one of the lines that I noticed that stuck out to me. I was going to hit her. I was so mad.
Oh, yeah.
This is the mom referring to
that one too.
Off-color drawings in her daughter's school notebook.
Yeah.
And the mom says, "I was going to hit her. I was so mad." I don't know. It just stuck out to me as the '90s being a different time and all.
Yep.
I guess it's still acceptable back then.
And also, like, the the scribbling in the notebook that was I guess they thought it was supposed to look satanic or something. I was like, this is just a kid scribbling.
Yeah. Oh, it's just 10-year-old scribbling.
It's really bored.
Yeah.
Kid who was watching this special and.
All right, so Emily, you seemed the most excited when it was over. Wait, I don't know that sounded.
I'm also probably the most stoned, so that could be part of it. But I don't want to judge.
So you enjoyed it the most?
I did. I enjoyed it. I don't watch a lot of actually scary things at all, even like mildly scary things. And so it was kind of fun. I'm freaked out by children, generally speaking, so that's always a good addition. I like a good fake mockumentary kind of style, except I guess that's not the right word. What even is it? It's just a fake newscast.
Yeah.
I like that kind of stuff. It's cute. I recommend, okay, so we didn't really actually talk super much about any of the things that happened, more that we referenced that they're funny. So definitely watch this, but have your phone to play some Candy Crush for a lot of it.
All right. Brian, thoughts?
Yeah, man. I think Emily said it best with who is this for? Like, but again, I can see how they didn't have Paranormal Activity back then, and like there's a little bit of that in this. There's a lot of stuff that people had probably never seen before, but those are things that I don't even like now. So like, I definitely don't like the nascent versions of them, but there was definitely a lot of cool British stuff going on. So I recommend that.
All right, Tom, any thoughts to add? Or
Yeah, I know we shit all over it. I actually thought it was somewhat enjoyable. Actually, I'll take away somewhat. I thought it was enjoyable. It was too long. Definitely for sure too long. It should have been in the 1 hour window, not in the 90-minute window. Although there's no commercials, so let's say 44 minutes, whatever. If they whittled it down, I thought it was actually relatively well done, especially given that it was 1992. So I would say anyone out there, definitely watch it again, whatever, and go enjoy it and have a laugh based on all this stuff we're shitting on it for, and then,
yes.
And then come up with your own stuff to shit on it for.
There you go. Well put.
Yeah, I'm agreed with everybody. Like I said, I thought there were a lot of really interesting things. They did mention a lot of real like paranormal and occult theory, which is kind of cool. But yeah, also like I've said, and like Tom just said, I think it just needs maybe a little bit more editing. Again, I can understand at the time why they would want it that slow burn. But now, watching it now, it's like, yeah, we really could tighten this up and just keep this train moving along. But yeah, no, I think I agree. Overall, it's good. I get it. I get why it stuck in people's minds all
also,
this time.
90 minutes with absolutely no bumper music of any kind.
Yeah, that stuck out to me too. Especially watching, like, knowing it's a horror thing and not having any sort of, undertones or just anything was very interesting.
Yeah,
like a news show, like just have, and now we go to do like.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah, something like that would be okay and fitting for the time, but if they made that now, there'd be like that screechy metal sound.
Oh yeah, nonstop.
Anytime someone turned their head, like or like when the cat was outside, or like that noise. Always something like that. All right, guys. Well, look, it's late here, and we watched it in real time. We talked about it in real time. So, but that's our 200th episode, and you guys are like cornerstones as far as the show goes.
Well, Eric, I want to say congratulations, and it's really quite the accomplishment doing 200 episodes and coming up with 200 topics to talk about and or even if you rehash some things, just sticking with it, I think you deserve a lot of credit. So congratulations, and you've done a really great job with this.
Well, thanks.
Here, here.
Yeah, man, you did it.
Yeah, sticking with it is the hard part, and I don't know why I have that. Because to be honest with you, it's not like I'm getting much out of it. You know, it's not like it's still fun. Like to me, it's good to have an excuse to have people over when I could.
Yeah.
You know, so that was always fun anyway. And now, hopefully, now that we've kind of mastered how to do things over Zoom and Skype and everything, that'll open it up more to have more guests too, because it's really much more fun with a guest. It's not
this
like
is
if I have to do it.
No, sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt. I'm just saying I talked over everyone. There's a delay, so sorry about that. But
Yeah, no, it's if I have to just do it by myself, like then it feels like homework most of the time, and that's why some episodes take a long time to get put out. But yeah, if I have a guest, it puts a little more spark to the flames. So that's why I appreciate you guys. So thank you. And especially Emily for writing the theme song, and Brian for all his technical help in the beginning, and then also touching up the theme song with a fun new version. And me, I like to rotate my theme song version, so that's in the rotation now. So
nice.
And Tom, you've been slacking off lately, being a dad and all, and having other responsibilities in your life. But at least you have come back a few times, and I appreciate that. And now, like I said, now that we can do things even virtually sometimes, I still always prefer
in person,
face to face, eye to eye, having it sound good on good quality microphones. But this isn't such a bad option if it's got to be that way either.
Yeah.
Thank you guys, and of course thank all the listeners that have listened. And also, changing the name of the show, we've got a lot of new listeners.
Oh, great.
It's a little easier to tell people look for Spooky Times than look for spooky ass shit, but don't call it spooky ass shit. You have to call it spooky AS when you type it in on this website, or if you're on this one, you got to call it this. And then, like, when you talk to, like, fancy people with degrees and stuff, and you have to tell them, like, oh, yeah, look for my podcast, Spooky Ass Shit.
It's good moving to Spooky Times, yeah.
I was explaining this, Tom, because I was saying how, like, when I started it on the advice of a comedian. Will Noonan had said that this would be a good thing to do because it would get us used to talking and everything. And the idea was that it was going to be a comedy podcast, and I have my comic friends on and everything. But that went out the window pretty quick, along with the comedy career. So, oh well. But yeah, so, all right. Well, thank you guys. And I hope everyone enjoyed this 200th episode. And until next time, don't be afraid.
Spooky Times is a Witchfinder production.
Now, please, would you switch off the TV and please send your kids to bed?